Welcome back to another episode of bin dyeing. This is also referred to as immersion dyeing, and I'm not the first person to ever put an item into a bin with dye and swish it around, but I just like calling it bin dye. So I have 3 colors today that I'm going to use, and the first one is peach from Dharma Trading Company. I ended up using 3 tablespoons of the peach powder. I put 2 in initially and then realized there wasn't enough, so I ended up making a little more. But in total, 3 tablespoons of peach. And it ended up being pretty dark, so maybe 3 was not necessary. But anyway, the whole point of this method for me is I just enjoy squishing the shirt or the sweatshirt. It's fun for me to watch the color move around the shirt as I am pouring in dye and squishing it with my hands. So it's not necessary to do that. If you are trying to go fast and dye a lot of things, you probably could just use more water and dunk it in and you're good to go. But I like having a bit of control over how much detail is left based on how much I squish the dye around and make it even. So something to pay attention to here is the temperature of the water. If it's cold, it will spread out and have less modeling and detail in the color because it takes longer to set in the fiber when it's cold. But if you used warm or very warm water, especially with oranges and reds, it would be striking on the fabric almost immediately, and it would be a lot more difficult to get it to move around and be an even color. So neither of those things is bad, but you can decide which way you want to go. Second color here is golden yellow, and this is not going to overpower the peach because it is lighter than the peach, but it's going to tone the color to be a little different at the top. And it does end up showing through in a way that I love in the final result. So I poured it at one end so that it can seep under and over the sweatshirt to make the front and the back a little more uniform. And then I enjoy a little time swishing it around, and I push up the bottom of the shirt, preparing it for the third color, which is a deep orange, I think. It is the darkest color, and I used 1 tablespoon of that powder with half a jar of water. And this is one of those big mason jars. I like this because I just spray it with the hose attachment, and it pretty much mixes it for the most part. And then I slosh it around. I don't mind having a few speckles here and there, especially when the colors are all the same. There ended up being some speckles that were kind of reddish, and I was okay with those. I liked those. I cheated a little bit, and I had this sitting on a seedling mat for about 4 hours before I rinsed it, and that ended up being completely adequate. Okay, I have the reveal for you. It is very bright, mostly what I was looking for. As you can see, it kind of, at first glance, this looks like a solid orange sweatshirt, but what I really love about this is in person, you can see nuances like peach showing through and lighter yellow up here from the golden yellow. The back has more variation than the front does. It is very vibrant. The amount of color in this, it makes me happy to look at. And compared to everything else in this room and compared to me, it's incredibly vibrant. And I like that there's no white left on it. Why would you go through the effort of dyeing a mostly solid sweatshirt or shirt when you could just buy one that's orange? And I think it has to do with the perception of depth. When I can see subtle light areas and dark areas with kind of different colors, like peach versus orange and yellow, it makes it feel a little bit like it's glowing. I've lived with these styles of sweatshirts now for several months, and I reach for them more than my other types of dyed shirts. Oh no! I just realized that I recorded my whole video and it wasn't actually recording. So I just tried to press off. Okay, we'll do it again. Here's the sweatshirt.